fascinates me is the art of uplifting humans, of making human beings the best human beings they can be. And as we were designing programs in Mind Valley, there were a couple of things we noticed that created the best results in any program we designed. These applied to not just programs, but to speeches, to festivals, to events, to seminars, to workshops. We call this model the 5 Praxis of Transformation. This is one of the secrets to why Mind Valley programs are so effective. Here's what I mean. If you go to stories.mindvalley.com, you will see thousands upon thousands upon thousands of case studies. When I went to stories.mindvalley.com today, there were close to 15,000 case studies on people whose lives had transformed through Mind Valley. And these transformations are different from learning. Let me explain. When you're designing a course, you don't want to help your student learn. You want to cause your student to transform. There is a difference. Learning is to take on new facts, new data. Transformation is to take on a new meaning schema of the world, to see the world through a new lens. Learning, you can forget. Transformation never leaves you. A mind once transforms will never again shrink back to its original size. Keep that in mind. When you truly transform, you literally become a different person. You cannot go back to your old self. So let me give you an example. I saw my grandfather die when I was around 14 years old. He was 65, and we lived in the same house. And when I saw my grandfather die, I saw him get progressively sicker and sicker. And when he died, it was, I remember the body. I remember helping my uncles, his sons, clean the body. I remember the funeral. It was etched into me. It was painful, but it also caused me to take on a belief. And that belief is that health is fragile. That belief is that in my family, we don't have good health and we will die around in our 60s. Now, that belief caused me to not really care much about my health. When I turned 40, I was just not in shape. I was kind of chubby. I had, I was in a completely different body from what I have right now. But there was a point in my life, around the age of 40, when I experienced a series of Mind Valley programs. Back then, they were not Mind Valley programs. Rather, they were amazing expert teachers who I stumbled upon. I studied with them. The first was WildFit, and I learned the concept of nutrition. The second was 10X, and I learned the concept of building muscle. And as I went through these programs, I understood something. And that transformation was this. It was a transformation of my meaning schema on health. I understood that it wasn't because of genetics, but it was because of mindset, attitude, and discipline. And when I understood that, I automatically started eating healthy. I automatically fell in love with working out. My body changed. I went from something like 22% body fat to 13% body fat. I had, in my mid-40s, I was losing my hair. My hair grew back. My skin cleared up. My energy levels soared. I lost my addiction to sugar. I started just craving healthy food. I can never go back to that same vision because I went through a transformative experience. Now, many of you who have done 10X by Mind Valley or WildFit know what I'm talking about. Our programs are designed to create a shift in your meaning schema. They literally make a new human being. And this human being can no longer regress to who it was. It's like asking a grown person to regress back to being a 13-year-old. It's not possible because you've taken on new understandings of the world, new wisdom, new ways of looking at things. The question is, how do you create transformation in your online courses? Well, it turns out that there are 5 ways. So our team at Mind Valley did a massive meta-analysis of all the most powerful ways of transformation. This is a model that we call the 5 Praxis of Transformation. These are the 5 things that create transformation in an individual. And when you can apply this model to your online courses, you create more effective programs. So let's get started with the 5 Praxis. So the first aspect of transformation is called critical reflection. Every time you design a program, when you ask your student to reflect critically on some aspect of their life, now critically doesn't mean bashing yourself, it means to really question your assumptions. If you ask them to journal or to answer a question that causes them to reflect, this is actually the number one thing that causes transformation. This, in fact, is why so many great online programs ask you to do a questionnaire or to journal your thoughts. When you do this, you create insight, you create awareness, and it turns out critical reflection is the most effective tool you can bring into transformation. Do you remember a few chapters ago when Jimmy asked you to create a list of your stories of life and to list down your stories? That is a form of critical reflection. You're thinking back about your life. You're listing your stories. You're reflecting on those stories. You're writing it down. This causes you to transform. How? You start to see that the stories of your life, whether good or whether negative, have a use. They allow you to help shift and change and maybe heal someone else. Critical reflection is the most effective way of creating transformation. So every time you're creating a program, make sure that every few chapters or so, you ask people to reflect on what they learn, to journal, to write down their thoughts. And the more critical writing you make your student do, the more effective the results of your transformation. Now, the second practice of transformation is critical study. So let me give you an example. The first one is critical reflection, writing down. It is the most effective tool of transformation. Critical study is when you watch, read, or listen to ideas that are designed to expand your wisdom. Now, the most powerful ideas tend to be ideas in psychology, neuroscience, personal growth. Yes, you can, of course, buy a book on speed reading. That's great. But this is a skill. Wisdom is different. And often when you pursue ideas related to wisdom, what happens is that the idea itself challenges an assumption. It challenges a known. And when you incorporate critical study into your courses, you create a deep transformation in the person. I want to give you an example here. So we were talking about how speed learning itself is a skill. But when Jim Quick, who's one of our Mind Valley teachers, teaches speed reading, he doesn't just teach it as a skill. Do this with your finger, do this particular technique with your eye. He brings in critical study. In other words, he challenges an assumption that we all make about reading. He said, when was the last time you learned how to read? And most people will answer 6, 7. That's when I last learned how to read. And Jim said, well, think about this. And every other skill you have, you constantly upgrade yourself. You constantly learn new things. If I were to ask you, when was the last time you learned to improve your computer skills? You'd go, well, probably last week when I read this article. When is the last time you improved your cooking skills? Well, you probably tried a new recipe in the last year or so. But reading, we stop at 7. And Jim goes on to say that this is just insane. It is a weakness of the world. There's so much that we know today from neuroscience about how to improve reading, how to improve retention. What if you could learn this? Would this improve your rate of reading? So by questioning the known assumption, Jim is bringing in critical study into his course, and it becomes far more than just a skill-based course. He has created a transformation. He has changed a person's identity, a person's worldview. You see how this works? So again, the first practice is critical reflection. The second practice is critical study. It's putting out ideas that challenge known assumptions or worldviews. Now, the third concept is social discourse. This means when you learn something, discussing or sharing it with another human being, preferably a fellow student. This is why in Mind Valley programs, we so often ask you to share things with the tribe, to open up our app and post a comment or post your learning or post a favorite quote or share a goal or vision. When you share something with someone else, it locks it into you, and you also help elevate another person. If you use a Mind Valley tool like insights.mindvalley.com, we encourage people to share their insights on books, on courses with the Mind Valley community. This is a form of social discourse. When you're designing a course, be sure to include community. You can use Facebook. There are so many free community tools out there. You can create a Facebook group. I know people who do this using a WhatsApp group or a Telegram group. I know people who do this using certain apps that provide community software for you. Tribe.so is one that we've experimented with. Another one is Mighty Networks. There are so many out there that you can look into. But when you ask people to share with the tribe, share with their fellow students, you create a better transformation. Now, this brings us to the fourth, which is rate of application. Rate of application is how fast you take what you're learning and you apply it in your life. And what this means is, as you design your program, don't ask people to wait. Ask them to immediately apply it in their life. Let's go back to that particular video where Jimmy and I asked you to list down your stories. We didn't just tell you the importance of creating a story bank. We told you to instantly write down 3 stories. That accelerates your rate of application. Good students immediately go from learning to application. And the faster you can create this acceleration from learning to application, the faster the transformation. So let's do a recap up to this point. The first is critical reflection. Bring in journaling, bring in assessments, bring in questions that cause the person to reflect on their life. Number 2, critical study. In your lessons, in your courses, in your chapters, challenge the status quo. Number 3, social discourse. Get people to share with their tribe. Number 4, rate of application. Get them to apply what they learned immediately. And now we come to number 5, which is really important, often not used. It is altered states. So it turns out, and I'm sure you know this by now, we are multidimensional human beings. We have a spirit, we have a soul, we have a subconscious, and programs that bring in concepts such as meditation, visualization, hypnotherapy, NLP, all of which speak to the subconscious mind, the spirit, and the soul, create better results. Here's an example. In our fitness program, we don't just teach you gym routines, we teach you how to visualize muscle growth. There are numerous studies done that show that when you visualize your muscles growing, they actually grow. Arnold Schwarzenegger often said that when he would work out in a gym, he would visualize his muscles getting bigger. This has been proven in a series of studies, including a particular study called the finger abduction exercise, where they found that 2 groups of people, one group of people that was asked to visualize themselves doing finger exercises, and another group that was actually doing the exercises, both had pretty much equal muscle growth, even though the group that was visualizing finger exercises was doing it in their mind. This is tapping into altered states. If you want to learn more about altered states, I encourage you to take the Silver Ultramind program on Mind Valley, which teaches you how to access altered states such as alpha for creative visualization, for relaxation, theta for intuition, and even states beyond that. But when you can bring in meditation practices, hypnotherapy into your program, you can create a profound impact. So what we sometimes do with our program is, even if the teacher is not an expert at hypnotherapy or NLP or meditation, we might provide some meditations as bonuses. You will learn in later chapters how to create the right bonus, but you can always provide meditations as a bonus. For example, we had a program with the preeminent teacher, Nur Yal, on becoming focused and indistractable. And the program, Nur is an incredible professor, teacher on the science of focus. He's one of the leading experts in the world. But one of the things we also provided as a bonus is focus sounds specifically engineered to put you in an altered state where you can be in flow. These are called binaural technologies. It's not hard today to find meditations or sound technologies that can put you in different states, that can help you visualize future outcomes. And so by bringing in altered state training into your course, you further enrich the program. So now let's do a recap. First one, the first practice of transformation is critical reflection. Ask your student to write things down and to reflect. The second is critical study. As you're teaching, challenge the status quo, challenge assumptions, put out new ideas that cause the student to rethink how they view the world. The third is social discourse. Get your students to communicate in the community. The fourth is rate of application. Get your students to apply what they're learning as fast as they can, instantly. The fifth is altered states. If possible, bring in meditation, hypnotherapy, NLP, binaural beats, and other tools that allow a student to accelerate their learning in their subconscious mind. Thank you for joining us in this lesson. I hope you found these ideas useful. Here's what I want you to do next. We spoke about rate of application. I want you to think about the 5 praxis and write down at least 3 ways you can bring this idea of these 5 praxis of transformations into the course you're thinking about designing. Go ahead. And if you want to get bonus points, share your ideas with the community. Future outcomes. And so by bringing in altered state training into your course, you further enrich the program. So now let's do a recap. First one, the first practice of transformation is critical reflection. Ask your student to write things down and to reflect. The second is critical study. As you are teaching, challenge the status quo, challenge assumptions, put out new ideas that cause the student to rethink how they view the world. The third is social discourse. Get your students to communicate in the community. The fourth is rate of application. Get your students to apply what they are learning as fast as they can, instantly. The fifth is altered states. If possible, bring in meditation, hypnotherapy, NLP, binaural beats, and other tools that allow a student to accelerate their learning in their subconscious mind. Thank you for joining us in this lesson. I hope you found these ideas useful. Here's what I want you to do next. We spoke about rate of application. I want you to think about the 5 practices and write down at least 3 ways you can bring this idea of these 5 practices of transformations into the course you're thinking about designing. Go ahead. And if you want to get bonus points, share your ideas with the community.